What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind, peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law. George H.W. Bush. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Secrets of Saturn. On this episode, we have Vinny Eastwood. Vinny is the host of The Vinny Eastwood Show out of New Zealand and is known worldwide as a fighter of scumbaggery everywhere. And welcome to the show, Vinny.
Oh, I'm very glad to be here, bro.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure. You are very well known, and I have the utmost respect for your work.
Well, that's what a lot of people have been saying, and I've just been thinking about this. Being famous and being recognizable and all of that kind of stuff, it can turn you into like a complete wanker. and sure enough, I've acted like a complete douche to a lot of people.
Mission accomplished,
recently. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like, let's just say, for example, a whole lot of people want to give you advice or tell you what to do or something like that because they can see you, they can hear you, and they see stuff wrong and what have you. And then you go, well, let me ask you a question, bro. Have you got 20,000 YouTube subscribers yet? No. Have you done 6,000 radio interviews? No. Have you created the largest online video archive of protest, public meetings, and interviews with activists in New Zealand history? No. Anything close to that? No. Then fuck off, because I'm not taking your advice. It's like, bro, if you've got something to say, keep it to yourself until you got a track record to back it up. I mean, more or less, that's kind of a lesson I had to learn earlier on. As I was sitting there going, oh, okay, well, I need to email this person and that radio show and that YouTuber and everything and tell them how to improve their game or anything like that. And then I sat back and realized, I'm just a know-nothing wanker, and I'm not actually doing anything, bro. Why don't I, instead of bossing around people that I've never met who are doing a hell of a lot more than me, why don't I just start doing my own thing and build it? And that way I can stop complaining about people who are more successful than me and start becoming my own version of successful. Which means...
And I believe you started in 2007, right? Thereabouts?
2007, 2008-ish, I think, yeah. But the radio show started in 2010. So I've been in talk radio for a good 5 years now. And it's, it's pretty intense, bro. It's kind of like the Occupy movement. They were intense.
And then it kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know what actually got you on the path of awakening into whatever you want to call it, the truth movement, awakening movement, liberty movement. Everybody banties different terms around.
Well, I just finished editing a video where I said this exact same story about what got me into it. But long story short, I got busted for 13 grams of cannabis for sale when I was 20 years old. And I was going to go to jail for up to 8 years because they punish it like manslaughter. And you have no, in New Zealand we have this thing called diversion, whereas if you commit a crime, but it's not like a really, really bad crime or something like that, you just get a warning and you get let off with no criminal conviction. No, they didn't give me no warning or anything. It was just straight conviction, and I wasn't able to travel, and I'm not sure if I ever will be able to go to the States or Japan or any other place that disallows people who have cannabis convictions. Ironically, the States is now legalizing cannabis ahead of New Zealand, which is a bit of a puzzler to me, considering like almost everybody in this country smokes weed religiously. And then after that, I took a year off. I did Cactus at the end of the next year after that. And it told me that I had to move into town. I had to go back to university, and I had to get a job as a telesalesperson. And I did. And the second year at university taught me something very interesting. When they gave me a subject matter that was anti-television discourse, right? There was an essay I specifically remember writing, because it was the first time I'd actually really put effort into an essay in my entire life. Like, I'm really, really bright, but I'm also really, really, really lazy. So the first time I'd ever actually read source material, first time I'd ever really put up a bibliography, first time I'd put reference notes and things of that nature. This is the best essay I'd like ever written at that point. So naturally I got a D- because because the lecturer was like, no, television's good for everybody and it's good in every way. You know, you're criticizing it as bad, and, you know, your arguments are flawed and everything. And, you know, the problem is I realized that because of the fact that they were supportive of television, it wasn't a good place for me to be learning, considering the reason I went to university is because I wanted to be a filmmaker. And in 2 years of university, I'd made 0 films. So I quit, went full-time into doing telemarketing. I was getting really, really good at it, making a lot of money, and I had a 50% strike rate. Every second person that picked up that phone, I'd be able to convince them to abandon their telephone company that they've been with for like decades and go with this new telephone company that's actually got cheaper rates and is a New Zealand-owned company rather than the foreign-owned ones that we've got, and get them to switch over, even though they never heard of me, never heard of my company or anything like that. I was just boom, and you can see it how I've translated that skill from telemarketing to marketing the truth. Right, I had a couple of bad jobs there after that. Like the one where I was real successful, I got fired because I wrote a 7-page essay about what was wrong with the company, and I was like, you know, like how to improve staff retention and all of these things, and they were just like, oh, okay, that's really nice, and they do like a 5-minute meeting with me, and then they go, okay, everything's good, all the issues solved. It's like, bro, but you didn't even get past page 1 of the essay before you left the conference room, and you made 0 changes, and even all the account managers and everything like that in the company were supporting me and were behind me on this, but the head honchos weren't. So I don't know, it just kind of it clued me into something. I went from the police and the establishments of our world and politicians and everything, trusting them implicitly with hope and faith, to being arrested by cops, having the cop manufacture evidence against me, getting marked really badly for really good work in university, and getting fired for being able to run a company better than the runner of the company was, and then getting into business with a psychopath who basically made my life a bit of a living hell, although he paid me 10 times as much as anybody else ever did. You know what I'm saying? So I took that money at the end of that month's work for him. I think it's about $11,900 worth of shopping vouchers for a local mall chain. So all the electronic stores in there, I got in and I grabbed myself a handy cam and a tripod and a little iMac computer. And ever since then, I've been exposing scumbaggery best way I know how. And the best way I know how, considering my laziness, is to go find people who expose scumbaggery on their own and don't need my help to do it, but only need my help to film and interview them and then publish that up to other people. Because if somebody exposes scumbaggery with a camera and doesn't upload the video, did that scumbaggery really get exposed? No, it didn't. And this has become my life now. I work for the activists. I work for the people. I work for the truth. I work for the people that are part of the truth movement until such a time as I'm no longer needed. And a lot of the people I do help who are willing to go that extra yard, who are willing to learn how to cut their own videos, make their own radio shows and things like that, I will tell them and I will teach them and I will show them the skills so that those who actually have the commitment to truth that I have will not need me to do it for them anymore.
Right.
Right. The best management model I ever saw was how to get yourself fired by making yourself redundant. Right. That's the best way of managing. You manage everything so well that you no longer need to manage it. Except I do it all for free. And I only survive on people's good faith and goodwill towards me for all the things that I have done. Not because I'm about to do something that they want to pay me to do for them, or in like some kind of exchange, but I give you all the videos, all the interviews, all the blogs, all the posts, all the memes and everything absolutely for free. Nobody pays me a dime per hour to do that. And if people like it, if people want to keep supporting me, they go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and they donate, according to their means. Some people are donating me like $100 a month. Some people $50. Some people $1 a month, right? And it all depends because you get nothing back for it. Nothing, right? And there's a reason I'm doing this, and it might be counterintuitive. It might be anti-business. It might be cutting me off in the kneecaps before I've even achieved any real success. But if there is no profit motive for me to do my work, like if I get paid whether or not I do the work, and I don't get paid more because I've done more work or anything like that, then it prevents me having any capacity for holding things over other people, right? I can't say to them, I'm not going to do your work even though you paid me, because they didn't. It just basically it's an anti-corruption thing. I don't want to wind up being corrupt. And as far as my life experience, my very tough life experience has taught me, anybody with power over other people, anybody with authority is inherently corruptible. And so I've attempted to take the power away that I used to have over other people, and tried to take away any of the temptation for corruption out of my life and income stream as well, so that I can survive with longevity without having to worry about becoming the very scum that I fight against.
Well, is it safe to say that everything has been building up more and more over the years, though, even though you're not looking at it from a financial aspect?
No, not really. I mean, I've always just been coasting along. I mean, it's always been just a matter of more or less survival, and this is the first time that we've actually been in a house where it actually has the space and the layout that we need. We need 2 toilets, and we need 3 bedrooms, and we need a decent backyard. Like, that was pretty much our minimum requirement, and it was only this last year or two that we managed to find a house like that. Incidentally, the number on the letterbox is 33. So I was like, oh, mate, that's a sign right there. It was the only house within our price range that had all the requirements filled. So, it was kind of synchronistic, especially considering it was on the market at the exact time that we needed it to be. So that's kind of like, I guess we're like sort of more financially stable to a degree, but we're paying more every week for rent in order to have these things that I need in order to do my job, super fast broadband, blah, 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 blah. More equipment's coming in. So I don't know. I've always lived life on a knife's edge, and it's kind of frustrating. Like I feel constant anxiety about where my next meal is coming from, and it's really frustrating and it's really difficult. And so anybody who wants to get into the truth movement, they have to get into it for the more or less the same reasons I do. Is that the money isn't really the reason you're in it for. If you're really, really good, if you're just top of the game, you'll make enough to survive if you're lucky. But that will require same thing it required of me. Countless thousands of hours of working for no benefit of any kind for other people who cannot afford to pay you. And you have to do that for years and years and years. It took me maybe at least 4 or 5 years before I was making enough to live off, basically.
You were still working another job?
No.
On the side?
No. I mean...
Oh, no, you're just eking by?
Yeah. I mean, I did little things every now and again, like I part-time looked after autistic boys, and I couldn't do that too very long. I was probably the best person who these people have ever had looking after their kids, because carers are generally female. And when you're dealing with young boys who are, 15-year-old boys just as dangerous as a 20-year-old guy, and they're reasonably strong, and they can't communicate properly, so they needed somebody who's much larger, stronger, and things like that to take care of them, as well as the fact that men are better at taking care of boys than women sometimes are.
You're probably more of an authority figure as well.
Yeah. So I helped them and change their behaviors massively. One of the boys was really overweight, and I took him running and everything, and he started behaving differently, much better. One of the boys used to bite and spit and scratch and hit and everything. After a couple of months with me, he didn't do that to anyone ever again. And I couldn't keep doing that because I found out that autism could be cured. And a friend of mine is a master herbalist, and she said to me, get these people to come and see me. I will give them a free consultation because it's through you, Vinny, and we'll see if these kids have the kind of autism that can be helped by biomedical therapies and things of that nature. And I was like, sure. And guess what the parents' response was? Nah. You know, we want to... It was basically... It came to the realization that these parents have been so downtrodden over so many years of being lied to about what caused autism and saying that it was your fault, it's your genetics, etc., and it's incurable and there's nothing that can be done, or whatever, that they give up entirely for the end of time ever trying to improve the behavior of their child, right? And that is something that was draining on me emotionally doing the work, and I had to quit more or less after that.
You know, all that reminds me of, I just interviewed Kyle Marsh, who put out the documentary Vitamin Cannabis, and it's the same nonsense where people are so brainwashed by the mainstream medical community that they don't even know that there is a cure for cancer already.
Yeah.
And, I mean, what you just said is just yet another example of that, about how the mainstream just is controlling everyone's viewpoints.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you're a truther, and you know the truth about a whole bunch of stuff, whether it be medical false flag terrorism or political corruption or whatever, participating in those worlds is painful and aggravating, I think is probably the more appropriate term, because it drives you freaking nuts seeing all this freaking stupidity and scumbaggery and the pain and the fear that's totally unnecessary.
Right.
And I think also on the side I was doing dance party videos, so I'd have like people in the dance party community here in New Zealand who'd hire me, like they'd pay me like $50 or $100 or whatever to go and film their gigs and make them. So you can search my my old YouTube channel for shift parties and things like that, and I make the Mickey as music videos, bro, like really, really cool, really fun. But I think the point that really solidified my activism as a career was when I was at the lowest point in my career, where I was getting so little from donations. I was getting so much anxiety over just paying the bills through getting enough donations that I had to get a job, right? And it was one of my best friends, Jono, who gave me the job selling insulation door to door, and I couldn't do it. I went in for the interview, got the job, and then that evening, I was lying in bed thinking about putting on a suit in the morning and going out and knocking on doors and making some money, and I had a panic attack. And it was on that day that I realized that I am employophobic, meaning having a fear of gainful employment. And that fear motivated me to, for the first time, I think, do a massive, wide appeal for donations. And to my shock and surprise, I got donated like $3-4 grand in about 72 hours to a week. Yeah, it was just like, boom! Wow!
Oh, wow.
Right? Because I've developed so much street cred and a good reputation among not just the New Zealand truth community, but the global truth community, that unlike anybody in New Zealand, and unlike most people in the United States, when I need money, I can actually get it, right? Donate it without having to pay it back very, very quickly, just by asking for help. Because I help everybody every day, just as a matter of course. And I don't ask for help very often, but when I do, I get it every time.
Right.
And within the next couple of days, I think I'll actually also have to be asking for help again because it's been pretty tough. It's been pretty tough, yeah.
Well, you're certainly welcome to put out anything you need to on this interview.
Yeah. Well, just go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and go through the PayPal, or if you happen to be listening in from New Zealand, there's a Kiwi Bank account in there, and automatic payments, even small automatic payments that come in every month are very highly valued. If you can't really do that, a one-off's perfectly fine. And there's a whole bunch of options. Just donate according to your means, but it's under this proviso. Do not, under any circumstances, donate to me if your kids are going hungry, your rent is going unpaid, you're having trouble paying your power bill, you're having any problems with yourself, and you don't actually have any spare income. Don't donate to me. Okay? Take care of yourself before you start taking care of other people.
Fair enough. There's only one person in the truth community I could say has really made this into a hugely successful business model. But I'm glad to know that you're doing it and surviving.
Well, the way I look at it is the world's run in the direct opposite way that it should. So in order for me to run any kind of business, I have to run it in the direct opposite way to the way everybody else does. Okay, like I had the Inland Revenue Department come in and see me, our tax department locals here. And they were like, "So Vinny, are you a sole trader? Are you a business? Are you a charity?" And I go, "Well, I'm not a sole trader because I don't sell people's souls or my own. And I'm not a business because I don't make products that I exchange to people for money. And I'm not a charity because I don't actually give money or help people who need it when they've given me money. I've already done it. A charity, I ask for money before they help people. I help people before I ask for money."
Right.
So I've done such and made it work, made such a unique business model that there isn't currently a tax code for what I do, because nobody in this country has ever done what I have done. I don't think anybody in the world has done what I have done. And I think this is the new way that business should be conducted. And it's called the peer-to-peer economy. James Corbett of the Corbett Report enlightened me to this phenomenon, and it's more or less what I have been doing by instinct without knowing that there was actually a term for it. And there is no tax code for a peer-to-peer economic model. There is no recognition of it as an official, useful way of conducting business. But I think that today we need more than ever business models that are based on ethics and community participation more than profit. Profits obviously needs to be there. I need to make a bit of coin, but I don't profit so much from it because whenever I want something, I just get it donated. I ask for the money and I get the money in and I get the equipment. What I don't have is spare income all the time. You know, like it'd be nice if I could just, let's say tomorrow night, for example, I'm going to a bar and I'm hosting a conspiracy theory pub quiz. It'd be nice if I could afford to buy just one beer for myself, but I can't. You know, that's really depressing.
I can imagine.
When you're doing 16-hour days and you're helping humanity, and at the end of the week, you can't even buy a beer for yourself, right? It's really sad and quite frustrating. But I don't know how to really get over that, because it's not like you can go out to everybody, "Hey, everybody, donate to me so I can go out and get fucked up."
Well, could you approach this like a band thing where you would have Vinny Eastwood merchandise available, since you now have a name for yourself, an image?
You know, supposedly, but I mean, I've learned a couple of lessons over this time, and is that I don't have enough time to do all the merchandising and the marketing and then putting all that stuff out there. I actually need other people to just take the reins and do that for me. Okay, just the kind of way that I've served the community in my own way without anybody needing to tell me what to do. I would like somebody else to work with me and just go, hey, Vinny, we're going to create this website. We're going to print all these T-shirts off it, etc. And we're going to sell them for you. And then we're just going to give you a cut of the profits whenever we make them. All right? Sweet ass. No worries. Because that way it requires zero participation on my part, zero effort on my part. And I simply get a form of passive income. And that's the key here is passive income. Whether you get out of bed, whether you go to work, it doesn't matter. You still get your money. And that's what you need to survive. And so this enables me, although I can't at the end of the week go and get a beer, what I can do is after 4, 5, 6 months of solid radio interviewing people who've been abused by satanic, sexual, pedophile cults and shit like that, I can take and need to take a month or even 2 completely off and do nothing for the truth movement during that time, because it's so emotionally painful to sit there and interview people about their traumas that they've had in their life that I need extended periods of time off. And because of my passive income, I can take 2 months off whenever I want to, whenever I need to, that kind of thing. And I won't have to worry about it. But yeah, when you've got businesses to run, you've got taxes to pay and all of that other stuff, and the way everybody else does business, they can't do that because they're doing it for the money. Me, I'm doing it for humanity. And that means that I have to take on humanity's emotional baggage a lot of the time in order to help people get over these terrible things that have happened to them and allow them to open up on radio to explain these things to the audience who also get emotionally traumatized. And that's why there's jokes amidst these interviews, because it's very difficult, I think maybe even particularly for the audience, to just deal with reality if there isn't a dick joke inserted somewhere, just quietly.
All that being said, I think the next question I'd like to ask you is, what is the New World Order scumbaggery from your point of view?
I'd probably just say it's the psychopathic mindset manifesting itself into reality. People who lie, cheat, steal, and defame and intimidate and injure and hurt shamelessly without guilt, more or less. This is the way the operation of the world is currently run. And psychopaths have infiltrated all the major establishments of any foreseeable influence, business, media, politics, entertainment, religion, law, medicine, all run by psychopaths.
Yes.
And what they do is they're kind of like a parasite. They will attach onto the host and they will send these chemicals down the chain into the remaining cells in the host's body, and they will very slowly corrupt and destroy the body as a whole. It kind of like a cancer does. And they grow exponentially if they don't kill the host. But unfortunately, they do kill the host, and they kill us. They kill people. And to be governed, and govern means control, by the way, from the original Latin, by people who literally don't have a conscience, who actually enjoy hurting, killing, raping, lying, and stealing people's ideas. That's the New World Order. That's scumbaggery to me. It is not just a structure. It is a mindset. The mindset of scumbaggery. There is a language of scumbaggery. Have you ever heard a politician speak for 20 minutes and notice that he didn't say a goddamn thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's the language of scumbaggery. And that language has existed for thousands of years.
They also use an odd cadence, I've noticed. Like the way they speak, especially if they're doing like a big public address, they say things in a very odd, almost over-exaggerated sort of way.
Well, I think so, but to me, it's not just about like how they speak or what they're saying. It's what they don't say. It's the things that are connoted by what they do say. It's the deception, the manipulation of the words that they're using. One thing that's really hurt me over the years is the realization that I'm just like them. I have the similar traits. I'm charming and enchanting when you meet me. I have a grandiose nature to me. I'm kind of
larger than life personality.
Yeah, and I'm kind of selfish. You should see when I'm trying to give people presents for Christmas or something, I'm just shocking because I think more about myself than I do anybody else. These are also traits of psychopaths because all psychopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are psychopaths.
Right.
I'm a narcissist in a pure form, without the lack of a conscience, without the valuing of my own life and my own comfort over the survival of others and the human race. I have massive amounts of creativity. Psychopaths have none. I can create things out of nothing. And I don't lie to people. I can't steal things anymore. I used to be a klepto, like bad. I even stole a microphone from an activist one time, and then I felt really, really bad about it. And I didn't use it ever, not once. And it was just sitting in the box under my desk. And one day that activist called me up and asked me what happened to their microphone. And I go, oh, thank God you called me. And I gave it back to them. But I still feel bad about that. I still feel bad about a lot of things. I live my life in some kind of perpetual guilt warp drive or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it's through feeling guilty for the bad things that you do that you know that you're not a psychopath. And the whole reason why I dislike psychopaths so much is because their personality reflects a lot of the parts of me. To the point where people think that I'm one of them, and that really, really pisses me off. There's two things in my life that piss me off worse than anything else. One is not being given credit for something that I have done, and the other is being accused of doing something that I haven't done.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I think there was this one time in high school, and I think this is where this belief actually originated, was in high school. There was this one time we had a conversation about racism and how different races express their racism. And I made the point that Caucasians express their racism towards other races by making racist jokes a lot of the time and using racial humor. And I was interested in how black people or how Maori people or how Asian people express their racism towards Caucasians or even other races. I was, interested in the topic of racism in itself. I wanted to understand it. And so naturally, the Māori girl at the table went to the deputy principal and lied and said that I'd told racist jokes and then said that Māoris were all bums and all of this kind of stuff. And I got suspended from high school for that. No evidence. And you know what was worse? I went round to ask the other people who were at the table that day to back me up, and they wouldn't.
Why?
They said that I had made those racist jokes, that I had been racist. Just the concept of having a conversation about the context of racism and how it's expressed to these other people that were of my own age group was such a racist thing to do that they thought that I needed to be suspended from high school for 3 days. And that really hurt me, bro. It really did. And
it probably changed your viewpoint too, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, not that much. I already thought that everybody was a complete asshole, and all it did was kind of solidify that shit. You know what I'm saying? And the other one, I think it was I had to repeat my last year of high school because the first year of high school I was too busy getting drunk, more or less. And all of my friends, incidentally enough, were 1 year younger than me, so I actually got to have a year where I was in class with my actual friends. Nobody in my own exact age group in the years of high school that I was in was my friend. I hated almost everybody in my class, and everybody hated me. I think it's probably because I was smarter than most of them, and they didn't like it.
Probably.
But one time, I was the head of the prom committee, in my second year of high school. Second last year of high school, yeah. And I came up with the concept. It was the snowball, and I organized the whole thing, organized the buildings and the building of the designs and little thingies that we had all around the hall to do this little student dance thing. And it went off so spectacularly well that the principal made a point of reading out the list of the names of all the people who contributed in a high school assembly. So it was like 800 kids in that assembly. And all the seventh formers, that's like the 17-year-olds, whatever, I'm not sure what grade it is, but the final grade in high school, I think. We're all sitting on one section of the bleachers, and they called out the name of every single person in the seventh form bleacher to thank them for their contributions to the highly successful prom, with the exception of one name. Me.
Of course.
The person who was the actual head of the prom committee, the person who organized it, who came up with the name, and so on and so forth.
And why was that?
I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, I figured it was because you're a bit of a troublemaker.
Maybe. I don't know. What I do know is that was the first day I decided to drink vodka at school. I drove home and I poured a little bit of vodka into a pump water bottle, and I just sat there drinking it in school because I was so angry that I hadn't been given credit for something that I had done, that I suddenly didn't care about anything. I even attacked my friend that day. He was bending over into the bushes to get something out of his bag or something, and I just kicked him in the ass and sent him ass over heels into the bushes.
You're expressing your adolescent anger.
And I'm still that angry today.
Against authority?
Not just against authority, but against everything that messes with me, everything that doesn't give me my due credit. Everything that everyone who tells me that they're better than me and they know how to do things that I don't know how to do, anybody who doesn't show me the same respect that I show them, I hate with a passion.
It sounds like all these events were leading you up to be able to be the person you are today, though, because you are so successful at being an independent media personality. Yeah,
well, I said for quite a while that the most important thing in my life has been my traumas. And who better to be in the limelight, exposing scumbaggery, the worst criminals and filth that this world has ever seen, and to be constantly ridiculed, called names, and talked down to and attacked? Who do you think would be more qualified to do that job than somebody who's had it happen to them their entire life?
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense.
You got to turn. It's like alchemy. You turn one element into another. If there's an element of scumbaggery in your life, you got to turn it into something good. You have to make something good from it. Now, I was probably one of the smartest, one of the most talented kids in my school, but my grades were terrible. You know why? Because school's freaking boring.
Yes.
And it wasn't allowing me to express my creativity. And so naturally, I got in trouble a lot. I got suspended from high school 19 times from the same high school in the 6 years that I was there. You know how many times I've been suspended from high school before that? 0, right? I'd never even been stood down from elementary school. I'd never actually really even been in too much problems. Although I was very violent when I was in elementary school, very violent. And that was because my father was very violent towards me. And I was talking with my friend Suzanne Posel about this the other night, is that the things that my dad and people have done to me have damaged and scarred me with wounds that will not ever heal, I don't think. So what they've done is they've made me inherently evil. Okay, bad things have been done to me. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I've come to terms with the fact that, to a large degree, despite what I do for a living and despite how I appear, I'm actually a bit of a monster. I still have the desire to be cruel. I still have the desire to hurt other people that piss me off. I still have all of these really dark intentions and things behind me. But it's the measure of a man to deny the animal that he truly is so that he can become the man that he wants to be.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you've had all these terrible things done to you, so you're going to show that you're better than that by overcoming and actually giving back to humanity, by being better than these people were to you.
And I don't know if that's the case. It's simply sacrifice. I feel that I'm kind of like a bad influence on people. I'm a bit of a parasite to a large degree. I feel really bad about myself, and that's the other flip side of being a benign narcissist, is that although you're often very brilliant and very creative and enchanting to people, you also are very, very down on yourself, very judgmental of yourself, and you don't take criticism very well. And I'm just wondering if I'll ever reach a breaking point about doing this, whether I'll become the very monster that I got into this movement to fight, because, and I've set up a little dragnet system to protect myself from myself, and that's just making friends with people who expose scumbaggery for a living. If, heaven forbid, in the near future, I turned into some kind of scumbag, all my friends and confidants, colleagues will pull me up on it and stop me. And if I'm too far gone and I can't come back, like if I'd had too much conflict or too much involvement with psychopaths or something like that, and they'd infected my personality and they'd turn me into one of them, that I lose my creativity, that I lose my inherent goodness that's inside me, I would want them, all my friends, to betray, sabotage, and destroy me as soon as humanly fucking possible, so that I cannot continue to do damage to them and the truth movement in general. I don't want to sell out. I don't want to be what I naturally am, which is a monster. I want to deny that for as long as I possibly can. And the best trick for that, other than setting those drag nets to catch myself when I'm at my worst, also just inherent large amounts of self-analysis. Why do I think that? Why did I do that? This kind of thing. Am I being a douchebag? Yes, I think I am being a douchebag. I think we might be able to change that thing right here. But yeah, it's quite a difficult thing to do and to accept your faults and your failings, and it's something that most people do not do, and that's why they wind up climbing the corporate ladder, getting infected with psychopathy. And by the way, it's an infection. You can be indeed possessed by other psychopaths if you're in too close proximity to them for too long a period of time. Anybody who goes into a cult and comes out, you'll realize it's not the same person that comes out of that cult, and it's usually psychopaths that running it, right? And
yeah,
that's my biggest fear, actually, becoming a psychopath.
Vinny, but it sounds to me like even though you're fighting these inner demons, you're giving so much of yourself, and you're living almost this Spartan style, lifestyle, almost like a monk. You're keeping yourself pretty much just on the razor's edge of making it and not making it. It sounds like you are inherently a good person, though.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's true to a degree, but just because someone's inherently good doesn't mean they're not also inherently evil.
Well, it's part of being human, though. We have this balance, there's no such thing as a real saint, like to the point that you would never make mistakes, or else that's not living. I mean, it's not living if you're sitting and meditating 24/7. You're not experiencing anything. Of course, you're gonna be out in the world, and you're gonna have things happen to you, good and bad. The whole point is to make the best of it, and I boil it down to, I honestly think the answer to life and the universe is love. I think that's the highest wavelength, the highest vibration. Call it what you will, but the whole point is to love and to be happy.
I think this is a good move, and I like to be happy and share joy and doing wonderful things with friendly people, and I choose to surround myself with that. And the problem is that once you stick your flag up and you identify who you are and you become a little bit more famous, like I like the term pseudo celebrity. Somebody actually told me that. I was out in a New Year's party, and he said, "Oh, you're a pseudo celebrity," and I go, "Yeah, I like the ring of that." It's like being a celebrity, but without the responsibility.
Yeah, but you realize that's kind of a bullshit term he's using. What he means is non-mainstream. You're not having your butt wiped 24/7 by, any of the mainstream networks or anything like that. You're doing it. You're becoming a celebrity on your own accord and in your own way and on your own terms, and I highly respect that.
Yeah. Well, it's not a choice; it's a lack of options. I mean, because let's face it, because of the amount of crazy stuff that I say, nobody will ever think that I've got credibility. And that's actually the way
That's not true, though. That's what mainstream says. They say, oh, these people are crazy.
No. This is what I'm saying, all right? Every crazy-sounding conspiracy theory has an element of truth to it because reality is crazier than anybody could make up. And what I've noticed is that the comedians have become the newsmen, and the newsmen have become a joke.
All I think of when you say that is Bill Hicks and George Carlin towards the end.
Yeah, precisely. These are the people that, in lieu of other options, these are the people you now turn to for your news. However, I'm not a qualified journalist. I'm not a qualified researcher. I don't actually have the skills to go out there and or the temperament or the patience to go out there and read government documents, to read legislation myself. So instead what I've done is I've taken up a particular role, a particular subset within the alternative media. In the alternative media, there are a lot of participants. There's keyboard warriors, and let's not think that's a derogatory term. Without the keyboard warriors, who are the ones who share your broadcasts, who are the ones who like your videos, who contribute to your views, who email out those links to other people, and that kind of thing, the keyboard warriors are the largest and in some ways the most important part of the truth movement army.
Oh yeah, they have to be, because they're the ones that are actually replicating the info and pushing it to be out there. You can't do that all by yourself.
No, you can't. Unless you're Rupert Murdoch and you have billions of dollars in a huge mainstream media apparatus that you own and control, which we don't. So it basically becomes like a battlefield strategy to me. I like strategy games to a large degree because this is just kind of how I think about the world. I think in terms of game theory of strategies. So in a battlefield, you have troops on the front line. These are people who get hurt. These are people who get killed. These are people who get injured beyond repair and have to be sent home. And you have the people on the back line. These are the people who repair those injured soldiers. These are the people who provide the food, who provide the supply lines, who provide base camp, who provide the cooking facilities and the hot shower facilities and so on and so forth.
The nuts and bolts of the machine, really.
Without those people who don't get the credit, who don't get called heroes and such and blah, 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 like the frontline people do, but without those backliners, those people who heal and provide stability for the entire movement, there would be no movement, not for more than a couple of days, until those at the front line burn out, starve to death, or get shot, right? And this is how I see everybody's contribution to the truth movement. I consider myself a part of the propaganda arm of the Truth Army. And propaganda is an interesting word because it has two different connotations. There's two different types of it. Mm-hmm. There's black propaganda, which is the traditional perceived telling lies in order to convince somebody of a particular worldview.
Right.
And the other is what they call white propaganda, which is telling the truth to convince people of a particular worldview.
Right.
And again, going back to the army analysis, without the propaganda machine, the U.S. Army needs you. or we will fight them on the beaches, we will fight them in the streets, we will never let go of our homes, not while these people threaten it. Without propaganda in any war, people lose hope. And it's once your troops lose hope, that's once your troops get convinced that victory is impossible, that defeat becomes inevitable.
I actually totally agree with all that. It takes all of us doing our own part to make all of this happen. And what I'd really like to know is, how far do you want to go with this? Where do you want to take it? Where do you see yourself as the years are going by?
Honestly, the answer is death. Yeah, I mean, I went into this with the full-on commitment that I will be doing this until I die, or until the New World Order is vanquished, and vanquished for a long enough period of time so that the generation after me will be able to live in a time of peace, live in a time of enlightenment without war, but not without challenge. And I may not ever see that world. I may not ever be there to teach children in the future. I'd like to be, but I'm fairly certain this is a war of attrition. And I see these older guys who have been my mentors and those who have helped me to become more enlightened like they are by sharing their knowledge and sharing their wisdom. Right.
That's actually what inspired me to do this as well.
And I've seen these old guys die off through the years. I realize that there's something that I want to change, is that I don't like it when people leave this plane of existence in the state that they didn't want to see it be created in. You know what I'm saying? It's like unfinished business. You know?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But I've also become cognizant of the fact that unfinished business is what death is all about, and that's kind of half the reason why I believe in reincarnation.
So do I.
The other half of the reason is that there's been a whole bunch of people who've been born miles away from villages, miles away from these other families, who know everything about those other villages, who know everything about those other families, and have memories that...
Oh, yeah, there's definite proof of it.
So, yeah, I think that in the context of reincarnation, it means that what we're experiencing right now is a game, and every game that I've ever played has an objective, has a point, has a reward. And I think that the objective of changing the general course and altering the direction in which this rudder of a Titanic is taking us down, that's my ultimate life goal. And that's because I achieved my ultimate life goal, my previous one, last year. I was driving down the road, going to my mate's place to get some weed, and I don't have a car stereo because it broke and I can't afford to get it fixed. So I now just narrate or come up with jokes or come up with ideas or come up with tunes or something like that, and I might record them on my cell phone, just on the dash or something like that. But one day I was thinking, what do I want to achieve after I die? What do I want to achieve once I'm dead? And thought about it for a second. I was like, you know what? I want somebody whose work has saved a lot of lives, who has prevented a lot of human suffering. Once I die, I want that person to come up and have a speech at my funeral, and to say something along the lines of, when I was in my darkest time, when I had lost almost all hope in trying to save humanity, there was this guy called Vinny Eastwood. And he came into my life. He showed me that just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't make it fun. He helped me to see that there was a lighter side to genocide. And I decided not to give up on my fight to save humanity. I decided to keep going and even fight harder to save humanity, because at that crucial moment in my darkest time, there was somebody there who was able to help me see the light. The next day, I get a Facebook message from a guy named Kevin Galilee, who's done a number of hunger strikes, who has written like 6 books on the covert global depopulation agenda. And he said something along the lines of, I was feeling really, really dark in my most terrible moment, but Vinny Eastwood helped me to see the light. He helped me to see that there was a lighter side, and he reinvigorated me to keep doing what I'm doing and to not give up and to not lose hope. Now, at the same time, I was like blown away at the coincidence of that. And at the second time, I was really fucked off because I was like, God damn it, I've already achieved what I want to achieve by my death in life. What's next?
How did it make you feel, though? Like, inside, I mean, certainly that must have been a very positive thing for you.
Well, it is and it isn't, right? Because I found out, like, I'm fat, right? And every time I have started to lose weight, somebody's come up to me and said, hey, Vinny, it looks like you're losing weight. And then I instantly stop exercising and I keep getting fatter. Fuck! God damn it! that kind of thing. It's almost like I thrive on discouragement to a large degree, because I'm sort of, in a lot of ways, I'm like my dad like that. He was kind of like, although he was kind of violent and maybe not the best dad, he was also a very, very talented genius to a large degree. And the way he got back at people who were dissing him and what have you was by doing something better, something that they said that he couldn't do, you know? And so people told me that I'll never make a living off of the truth movement. And yes, I have. People tell me that I'll never be, you know, the Alex Jones of New Zealand. Well, I guess I kind of am. And
I think so.
Yeah, not to you know big up Alex Jones or anything. It's like every talk radio show host draws inspiration or takes ideas and things from others. But I would never ever want to be considered like Alex Jones, because I'm not.
Well, I think the compliment to Alex is that he's turned it into a successful business model. Sure.
However, my network owner used to produce Alex Jones, and at the time that I got onto that network, there was another radio show host who used to sit in for Alex Jones, and the co-host that I had on my first show on that network used to be one of the mentors of Alex Jones. So I have a similar incubation element environment to how he got his platform and success. The problem is that the things that these people told me that he did to them, and the reason why they're no longer working for him, was really disillusioning. And I suddenly realized that you can't put anybody on a pedestal, ever. Because once they fall from grace, and they always will, because they're human, you, the idiot who put them up on that pedestal, is going to be crushed as they come tumbling down. And that's how I started to, instead of have faith and inspiration by other people in the truth movement and listen to them religiously day after day, I stopped listening to almost everybody, and I just started interviewing them instead. And I just tried to be as good a person as I can possibly be without hurting others.
What do you think the state of the truth movement is right now? Because obviously the biggest name out there is Alex Jones, but I hear so many voices also attacking him, saying he's a shill, he's a government agent, he's this, he's that. I don't know what to make of Alex, to be honest with you, and I've had this conversation with multiple people. I'm kind of the opinion that Alex Jones is really into being Alex Jones.
If you go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mr. News, Guerrilla Media, and you click on the little magnifying glass there, or go to videos, or just search Alex Jones exposed. Does it even matter? And I did a video about this and told the stories of what these people who know Alex Jones have told me, simply passing on their wisdom, right? And it's a pretty rough video to watch, man. If you really love him and you're enamored with him like I was, it's a big drop in your faith and your motivation. But just because somebody inspires you doesn't mean they need to continue, right? People who I saw this really great video, and it said there's a difference between inspiring somebody and motivating them. Motivating them means you have to be there all the time, giving them props and saying, oh, you're doing really well, and so on and so forth, right? But inspiring somebody means that your job is already done. All right? They're off. They've got their own energy now, and they're doing their own thing. And that's what I took away from Alex Jones, and that's kind of all I'll say on this broadcast, because ultimately it's not a good move to criticize and attack others, because it's not like, let's just say there's two ways to getting to fame. Number one is by being good enough at what you do to become famous at it. And number two is by attacking people who are better than you at what they do and criticizing the hell out of them, and have everybody but do it so well that everybody agrees with your criticism and analysis. I don't like that way of turning to fame, because you don't get a fan base of people who are loyal to you because they care about you. You only get a fan base that is loyal to you because they because they hate other people.
Yeah. So it's all negative.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I totally agree with you there.
But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't, when it's appropriate, expose scumbaggery, especially within your own ranks. Because I've said for a long time that the most important place to expose scumbaggery is actually within yourself. Because if you can't see your own scumbaggery, then you're not going to be able to do a hell of a lot of good in a large way.
Well, picking up from there, the state of the truth movement, how do you feel it's come along since, I don't know if the word inception is a correct word, because there have always been people like way back when, like the John Birch Society and all that sort of thing. But I'd say the big takeoff with it was, 9/11, post 9/11, people really started questioning, going, what the hell's going on here? How do you feel things are today compared to even just the past 10, 15 years?
Honestly, it's very difficult to tell, because all of our experiences are subjective, and without, shall we say, critical analysis that is breaking down things and doing large-scale research, particularly by university institutions and things of that nature, surveys and whatnot, it's very difficult to gauge what is happening in the truth movement, or even if there is a truth movement per se. Movement implies that it's going somewhere.
Right. Good point.
And so what I did was I noticed, holy shit, I just had a really big realization, bro.
What's that?
You remember when I told you, like, on the first hour, how I wrote a 7-page essay about what was wrong with the company and I got fired as a result of it?
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a 25-minute speech about what's wrong with the truth movement and what's wrong with us as conspiracy theorists.
Sounds like you need to do a monologue.
Yeah, I did actually, and I'll send you the link. But because I just had the realization right now that I did the exact same thing back in the day, and I got chastised for it. But I just did this for the truth movement, right? Not too long ago. It's called Conspiracy Theorists: Why People Think You're Crazy and How to Change It. Because just like I noticed all the different spectra of things that were wrong with the company that I was working for and how to solve those problems, I noticed that all of us in the truth movement have very similar problems. We have problems with our family. We have problems with our friends. We have problems with entertainment. We have problems with money. We have problems with our own heads and how we psychologically deal with things.
Oh, that's because we're all human.
Yeah, but nobody's ever actually gone, look, conspiracy theorists, I love you, I'm one of you, but here's what we're all doing wrong, and here's how to actually change how badly we're doing, right?
Right.
Now, isn't that absolutely necessary in a time like these, where we've got record suicides and people's families don't listen to them, and they get really, really pissed off about absolutely everything, and they're driving themselves nuts because they don't know the coping mechanisms that are required in order to maintain sanity whilst fighting against the crazy frickin' people who control this planet.
Right.
All right.
Well, I think it's obvious our society is degenerating badly.
Yeah, to a large degree. But people don't realize that you are part of society. So if society is degenerating, so are you. So this is what I think the truth is happening in the truth movement. Now, is it growing? Obviously, because every single truther website or whatever is increasing in hits on an exponential scale, and every single mainstream media outlet is decreasing in hits on an exponential scale. Okay, so there's obviously a massive, massive growth going on with our movement, but just like every growth spurt in a human being comes with incredible pain. So does the adjustment of your life, and it is in fact quite painful just to see people monstrously screwing it up for other people. You know, like trying to yell at somebody and call them a sheeple, like in public. It's like, bro, what are you trying to achieve here? Did you wake up because somebody called you a sheeple? No. Did you wake up because somebody put a gun to your head and said you got to wake up? Or no. Then why are you expecting other people to do this? Okay, you're not doing the requisite critical analysis of your own behavior and how you're going about things in order to appropriately conduct your own behavior within the truth movement and within society, because conspiracy theorists, just in general, quite sane. Quite logical, but also they're dealing with things that are extraordinarily painful, like the realization that your government is out to kill you, the realization that your medical doctors and things like that are more likely to kill you than any other factor. You know, these are kind of like, that's unfortunate. Those kind of realizations will hit you. And coping with these things is sort of, I've found that when you go into a niche, you realize after a while that there's a niche within a niche. So I've come into the truth movement and the alternative media. That's a niche because the mainstream media doesn't cover the stuff. But within the truth movement, there's another niche as well, because not only do you have to cover the stuff, you have to help your audience deal with it. And that's more or less the role that I've chosen to play. There's a old South American sort of character that's existed throughout time, sort of like a legend, or just more or less just a common knowledge. It's called the Wounded Healer. Sometimes you will suffer things so terribly, you will feel such massive pain, and that pain will stick with you for long and extended periods of time. And sometimes the only person who can help you through that trauma is somebody who's been through it themselves, who can relate to you directly and be able to help you through to getting over it, you know, that kind of thing. And I feel to a large degree I've gotten over being called a conspiracy theorist. I've come up with some pretty straightforward methodologies for how to deal with it. In fact, only one: block, and the scum is gone.
I deal with that every day, too, because I still work a regular job, and they love to make jokes to me about how I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, yet behind closed doors or when I'm one-on-one with people, they'll admit that I'm one of the smartest people and most knowledgeable and wise people they've ever met. I'm like, yeah, but it's all fun and games when everyone else is around, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I've got 3 panels on this thing. I've popped it into your chat for you there, so you can peruse it later. But
thank you.
There's 3 pictures within this link and within the whole video that's on that as well. So definitions: a conspiracy theorist, a person who believes, and you cannot convince them otherwise, that powerful people who have a lot of influence actually use their power to maintain or grow that influence. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
Yes.
And a coincidence theorist is a person who believes that everything happens by sheer coincidence. There's no such thing as corruption, deceit, or backroom deals, and mankind just somehow got over the desire for world domination. No, I've got enough money and power, bro. I don't want to.
Yeah, I just see these people going, no, I'm good. No, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, so which one of those 2 people sounds more insane?
Right.
So this is how I'm converting the definition of conspiracy theorist to being the sane people, and everybody else, a normal person who's not a conspiracy theorist, is completely out of their mind. All right?
Do you know where that comes from, though, Vinny? I've had this argument with people, and the reason why a lot of people think that way is because they're inherently a pretty decent human being, and they can't fathom that other people would be doing these evil things. That's what it comes down to.
To a large degree, but it's a little bit deeper than that, because it's not so much that they can't see how bad people can be because those people aren't like them and they don't think like they do. That's one very important element, sure. But the other important elements is that there's something wrong with everything. Now, most people aren't intelligent enough to realize that there's anything wrong at all. And a small percentage of them are smart enough to realize that there's something wrong with maybe a few things, but only very, very, very few people are smart enough to work out and deal with the fact without going insane that there's something wrong with just about everything. Everything that you've ever been taught to believe or know or love or feel connected to is, in a lot of ways, just a big deception. And you have to acknowledge at some point that you have been deceived and that you're not as smart as that you think you are and that you don't know everything. And that, in fact, I think the best way that I come about it myself is just go, Vinny, pretend for a moment that you're a complete idiot and that you've actually got something to learn. And not only have you got just a little bit of something to learn, but you've got a lot to learn. And not just about a few isolated topics or something like that, but about absolutely everything. How complicated is the Earth? Okay, how many different systems does it have? Whether the human or natural systems, how many are there? What are all their inputs, outputs? What are all the elements in the equation? And the answer is nobody fucking knows,
right? Because
it's too big a complex system for any one person to be able to fathom it. Stephen Hawking had no clue. All right. Doesn't matter how smart you are. There's just too much information for a single mind to ever know it all. And so I've cut myself off at the pass there, and I go, I don't want to know it all. What I want to know is a tiny little bit about everything. All right. I'll never know 100% and be able to research and lecture people on 9/11. But I will be able to get people to ask themselves some very important questions about 9/11. For example, have you got a barbecue? Yeah. Okay, when was the last time you used that barbecue? Oh, like last week we were having it when we were having a few people around for a few beers and some burgers on the barbecue, yeah. And I go, okay. How long did you have that barbecue on? Was it probably for over an hour? Yeah. And did the grill melt? No. Did the barbecue explode into particleized dust? No. Then 9/11 was an inside job. And conspiracy theorist was a term utilized by Richard M. Nixon.
Yeah.
He called Woodward and Bernstein conspiracy theorists when he was getting nicked over the Watergate affair. He also said, I am not a crook. And it was later found out that he was part of a conspiracy and also a crook. Okay? So that's how that works.
Very much so.
All right. Now, anyone who believes that every conspiracy theorist is insane is clearly out of their mind. But anybody who believes that no conspiracy theorists are insane is completely out of their fucking mind.
Mm.
Right? Because this is a crazy-making game, learning the truth, okay? People say, what was it? The truth will set you free, but it'll piss you off first. And I don't know. I don't know about that. I think the truth is weaker than lies. For one specified reason, there is only one truth. Okay, you've got the facts, you've got the evidence, boom, that's the truth. Can't argue with it. What you can do is you can lie about it. What you can do is you can ignore it. What you can do is you can omit it. What you can do is not report on it.
Right.
And thus the truth is able to be concealed very easily. And even when the truth gets revealed, they can just lie and say that it didn't get revealed. And lie again when you challenge them on it. And then lie again and again and again.
Or throw so much distraction out there that it doesn't matter anyway.
So how many different ways can you argue the truth? There's only one way, and that's because it's the truth. It's not malleable, it doesn't change, and it doesn't suit to conform other people's thoughts or ideology or anything like that, because it's the truth. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Why lies are superior to truth is because they do not hold those same rules. You can infinitely make up more lies, okay? I can just lie and then tell another lie to cover up for my other lie, and again and again in an endless cycle. And that house of cards may never come tumbling down. I mean, What are we in the 10,000th year of human civilization on planet Earth, and we're still under the control of ruthless, criminal, psychopathic scum? Do you think they were capable of keeping control of humanity for that long with such dominance if truth was more powerful than lies, like people in the truth movement have been telling us? No.
No, I think they got a good grip on things.
Okay? So, if you lie, if you are a scumbag, if you hurt people, you will be very successful in this world because it's made by crazy people to work this way. Only by denying your own brilliance and your creativity will you want to climb a corporate ladder instead of starting your own business. Only by lying to yourself about how much effect you can have on the world will you choose to keep working a slave job that's going nowhere and choose not to develop yourself or spend any of your spare time on any particular hobbies or projects that may at some point produce a different income or a different life for you. The lies that we tell ourselves are powerful, and it's the easiest thing that we can do is lie to ourselves because we want to believe our own BS, don't we?
Yeah.
You know, we want to believe our BS. We want to believe other people's BS. We don't want to come to the real painful truths about ourselves, and we certainly don't want to come to the uncomfortable truth that all the people who we rely on as figures of authority in our society are actually operating on 100% fueled, ready to go, pure and unadulterated scumbaggery.
That's right.
To realize that this is the society you live in is quite traumatic.
Yeah.
And it's not a good idea to just say, oh, well, the truth's more powerful than the lies, because there's no evidence to suggest that's the case. Or at least I haven't seen it yet. Now, I want to read you a question, a part out of this about the insanity element. The element of madness has either been creeping in, laying dormant inside, or has always been dominant in the truth movement. It seems to be getting more noticeable by the day as comment threads and message boards seem to be filling up with posts in all caps with at least 20 exclamation marks after each sentence by fake accounts that have almost no followers that for some reason always manage to include the word truth, sheep, or Jew somewhere in their names. That's actually the heart of the matter, to differentiate oneself from those people and instead stay calm, reasonable, well-researched, and personable. Of course, that's an impossible task because regardless of how awesome you are, you'll always run the risk of getting called names by brainwashed, psychopathic, and crazy people. But at least this way, you and the others like you will be able to quickly identify each other, because few things are worse than fighting people who agree with you and agreeing with people who hate you. There's a lot of things that need to be changed about this world, and I'm not going to just sit there and accept the reality and just go, no, I can't change it. I'm just going to work within the system. I'm just going to get a slave job. I'm just going to get myself a house that the bankers own anyway.
Isn't that the answer for most people? What can I do? I'm one person. That's what I always hear, and I'm like, yeah, you're one person, but if we all start working together, you're not just one person. No,
it's like, bro, that's the complete wrong way of looking at it. I'm one person. Look what I've achieved. 21,000 YouTube subscribers. I've prevented many listeners and indeed activists from committing suicide at these crucial times in their lives. I've created the largest online free archive of interviews with protest leaders and activists and things like that, plus public meetings and videos of the protests themselves than anybody in New Zealand history. Nobody's even come close. Even the National Archives doesn't have as much protest stock footage as I do. Okay? So I'm one guy. Did other people help me along the way? Sure. But did anybody do all these videos for me? Did anybody go to those protests for me? Did I require any of them to? No, I didn't. It's when you realize that you yourself are really powerful that it's the most painful reality to deal with, because you realize now how powerful you are and what a massive obligation it is on you to go out and do things by yourself without anybody's help, if necessary, without anybody's appreciation, if necessary, even through great opposition. Because ultimately, it's always been one person that's changed the world and everybody else is just along for the ride, right? Gandhi was one person. Chairman Mao was one person. Joseph Stalin was one person. These people have changed the course of history for good or for ill, but they were one person at the end of it. And if you think of yourself as the most important person in the world to yourself, then you'll actually start to realize how powerful you are and what great an effect you can have on others. The people who are the weakest, the people who are the easiest to discourage, the people who are the easiest to sideline and destroy and give up, are the people who think they need somebody else's help to begin anything, right? Somebody wants to start up a radio show. It's like, oh, I need a co-host. No, you don't. If somebody wants to start up a website, oh, I need a webmaster. No, you don't. Somebody wants to start up a YouTube channel. Oh, I need somebody else to do the editing for me. No, you don't. You actually have to figure out how to do all this stuff by yourself. And that seems like a really daunting task, and it's exactly how it sounds. It is not easy, but if you come to the realization that no lesson in life that is real easy to learn is of any value, it's always the things that have cost you the most that have the most value.
Perfect, man. I think that's a brilliant way to leave this, too.
All right.
Do you want to throw out your all of your websites and everything that you've got?
Sure. It's the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question. Eastwood as in go ahead. Make my news. And you can catch me on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 4 days a week. And you can indeed have a good laugh because, dude, just because you're being exterminated doesn't mean you can't make it fun. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed?
I hear you, man. I really appreciate you giving me some time here.
All right. Choice, brother. You have yourself a wonderful evening. And thank you to all your listeners for listening in and listening to me ramble about how awesome I am for like an hour and a half.
Killer. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, man. Take care. That's it, folks. What a great show that was. We'll see you again.